Hi guys, Mike from SSP Firearms. Today we're going to do the breakdown and cleaning of the H&K VP9, my personal favorite handgun. Great, reliable gun. The first thing you're going to want to do is take your magazine out and then clear that chamber, visually inspect it. Next thing, the nice thing about the Striker Fire handguns is that they're largely the same process to clean. So what you're going to do is lock that slide back. You're going to drop that slide release lever and then assist that slide back down when you drop the slide stop down. Now a lot of times it did come off, but if it does get stuck, it's not uncommon for it to stay on the gun and you're struggling to get it off. Usually you can pull that trigger and it'll slide right off. And then it's just a matter of taking the barrel out, as you saw, and the spring, and then the frame. I like to start with hitting the barrel with some bore max, and then I just leave it standing up, like so. Let that soak in while I work on the rest of the gun. There's a variety of products you can use. CLP is a great product to use because it does lubricate and clean the gun. I like to use the wipes. My days of little babies are over, but they're just like baby wipes. And you can see, I clean my guns regularly. I literally just had this one at the range yesterday, and you can see it's pretty clean, but even one day at the range is gonna leave a decent amount of residue. So you're just wiping everything down. I like to use the rag or the wipe until, I'll use as much of the real estate on the rag until I just don't have a clean spot to use, because then you just start on the next wipe. But hit at every aspect of that gun. And if it's been a while since you cleaned, you would want to remove the other components in the slide. Again, this is a quick clean for me because I keep my guns pretty clean and try to take them to the range as much as possible. Even though I did hit with the wipe, I'll spray some CLP in there and hit that one more time before I finish. And now I'm working the frame, the spring, every aspect of the gun. You definitely want to get some solution on it and get it clean. Then I'll start with another wipe. Now, as far as cost effectiveness, the wipes aren't the best solution. They can be a little bit more expensive than and not go quite as far as the solvents. So if you prefer, you could do the same process with a solvent that comes in a jar. You get the bigger jars, you get a better price. And it's gonna accomplish the same thing, just using patches, dipping the patches in the solvent. And there's a variety out there. It's not hard to find. And different people swear by different products. Just to keep it totally real, I tend to go where there's good buys. If something's on sale, because I don't see a ton of difference between one product to the next. So if something's on sale, that's what I'll typically use until. And then guys, if you do get some stubborn spots, take your brushes. You want to keep some brushes handy and kind of work those areas that can be harder to get, or anywhere you see stubborn spots. The rails, definitely take that brush through the rails. And you figure that the slide moving across the frame is pretty integral part of how your firearm works. So you definitely want to keep those cleaned and lubed. So I focus a little bit on those rails and make sure that I'm getting every aspect possible. Now you could take this gun down and strip it quite a bit more than this. Every component you could take out, and you're really not up against it's not a massive undertaking. And I'll definitely cover that in other videos, but for the sake of someone who's regularly cleaning every every time or every other time to the range, something like I'm doing right now should be more than adequate. Now when that bore cleaner's soaked in a little bit, I want to run a brush through that barrel, loosen everything up, and then start running patches through the barrel until you get a clean patch. And again, you can use different solutions, and I have a number of them. And again, I don't have an affinity to one certain one because they're all pretty darn effective. I don't worry so much about when I'm running patches through early. When I first start running them through, a lot of people they say don't run it back through because you're just taking the powder residue and spreading it to the other aspects of the barrel. But when it's that dirty, really I'm just trying to get as much of the bulk of it off, and then as it gets cleaner and cleaner, I'll run my final patches through straight through the barrel without coming back the other way, and then I know I'm not leaving any debris behind. And then when I let that dry and oil that barrel just really ever so slightly, you don't want to hit that barrel hard with any kind of lube. It's gonna take you 4 or 5 patches to get that barrel, or more sometimes. I mean, even just in modest use. I mean, that's, like I said, one day, that's 5 patches. I probably got one more to go through there. One more. This one should come back pretty clean. Guys, you don't want to try to stuff those patches. It's going through where you know you're getting contact along the barrel. That's more than enough. You don't need to put 4 or 5 patches thinking, oh, that's really gonna, because literally you can get your patches caught in your barrel. Not to the point where they're not gonna come out, but the point where it takes some elbow grease to get them out. All right, so then as I'm wrapping stuff up, I tend to just give everything another once over with the cleaner. And the nice thing is, as you kind of hit everything, you set one thing to the side. It should dry pretty good by the time you get back to it. As a matter of fact, I'll just go back to the CLP cloth to give it my final once over on all the parts. And you'll see it should stay a little bit cleaner. I mean, you're still going to get some residue, but by and large that should stay pretty clean. For the rails, it's never a bad idea to get your pick, kind of run that through. And you can see I do have a couple shiny spots. So as you're cleaning, you want to pay attention to, see, for example, on that slide, you can see it has a little bit of shiny spots there. So when you see that, that's just an indicator that you want to, as you start to lube, those are areas that you want to just get a little heavier, make sure they're well lubricated. Now for lubing, guys, I'll just take a couple patches and I'll just drip some oil on there, gun oil on there. And again, there's a lot of different kinds. For the slides, you can go ahead and drip right into the slide. Just go super light. You don't need to hit that really hard. You figure if you've cleaned your gun and the next day you're at the range and you have oil running down your trigger, dripping out of the gun, you over lubed. You really don't, you should never have that happening. It should be a light film of lube. And then Still a light film, but maybe more concentrated on those shiny spots. But you can see that that's pretty well lubed. You can see the shiny spots, and that's pretty well lubed without seeing any buildup at all, or any, and even the spring, I'll hit that. You can see how it's shiny, but not, no buildup, no drips. And that my patches are coming back pretty clean. All right, so we got everything cleaned up. The process now is just reverse the process. Take the barrel, get the barrel back in. Then it's the spring. Double check your spring. A lot of times both ends of the springs look pretty similar. In this case, I always know which is the outside part of the spring, and that's the one with the groove in it. So that goes there, that goes right in the end there, and then push down on that spring, get it in place, and then goes back on the slide. Then you're gonna push this back and, whoops, and then your slide release, let it go back. You can see, just with that little bit of grease that I put on those patches, you can see that it left a nice little film on the gun. So then I like to take a silicone cloth, wipe everything down, work the action a little bit. That works in the grease, or excuse me, the oil. And then I don't like to leave any buildup at all. And I hope you guys like your VP9 as much as I like mine. It's a great gun. And I know I hear people say it's too pricey and the reasons why it's overrated. And as you can see, guys, I did forget to do the magazine, so I'm just hitting that now. But you could see the amount of residue you get on the magazine. It's never bad to give that a once over. I mean, all that's ending up back in your gun. If you don't. So that's it, guys, cleaning your VP9.